Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassey, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. And it's a big day, another big day here at PAC 14, because we have the guy who just won the biggest community award that we have. And I only say it's the biggest because I won part of one of those awards. But this guy won the big award, Matt Drew. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Now, you have been a pain in everyone's butt for years about this bicycle stuff.
I have.
And something happened while you were on the way to being a pain in the butt. Everyone suddenly got it. They understood what you were talking about, and they've actually incorporated the things that you have always advocated for into what we do around here. Talk about that for me.
Well, it's neat. It's a neat time to be seeing some of these improvements actually become, I like to think of it almost as institutionalized, and,
right.
I mean that in a really, really good sense. But it's not, we can't take all the credit here in Salisbury because it's becoming a national trend. You can see cities throughout the United States are looking at examples of becoming bike friendly and what that means in places in Europe and Asia, and with all the issues we have with congestion, with environmental issues, with people not giving enough activity. There's a lot of good reasons why we want to become more bike friendly, and we're looking around and seeing a lot of good examples. So in a lot of ways, we're just keeping up with other areas just as much.
So Bike Salisbury is your group.
Yes.
How many people are in this thing?
We've got about 750 supporters.
Is that amazing?
Yeah, that help us with email drives and write letters and do things like that. So, and it's not just people in the Salisbury area, it's actually throughout the 3 lower counties of Maryland, as well as people from Baltimore, Washington area that visit here.
Right. Now, I thought I would understand all this stuff, but I didn't really until my son wrecked his car and we had to share a car for a while, so I was on the bike for a while.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, all those paths and lanes that you had advocated for made sense to me.
They do start to make sense when you use them. That's
right.
right.
And that's the key. So you can be cynical riding around your car like, what the heck is this? And who cares about bikes? But it really made sense.
And you probably also found out that after you had that time when you were riding the bike, that when you got back in the car, you probably started to drive a little bit differently.
Much more polite. I mean, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, so I totally get that.
Yes.
But like on Waverly, it's amazing. On Camden, on Riverside. In fact, I had like a conniption because the bike lane ends on Riverside right where it gets up to Carroll Street.
Right.
And you have to either go up on the sidewalk or get in the traffic.
Right.
And I actually cursed you one day because I was like, why didn't Matt get a bike lane all the way through? What the hell's wrong here?
Exactly. Well, and we've got a great opportunity now because under Mayor Day's leadership, we have money and consultants and energy centered around developing a real bike master plan for the city. All the work we've done up to this point, the Waverly Street, the Carroll Street, South Division Street, Riverside Drive, it's almost really been, honestly, an ad hoc basis. We've looked at project by project and gotten state funding and implemented a project. But the bike master plan allows us for the first time to look at a truly integrated approach where things connect through, and instead of having individual segments, we have almost more of a functional system. So I'm excited about that.
There was also a moment, this is a couple years ago, the city council was talking about something, and you showed up to talk about a bike lane. And it was the previous group, and they were like, he's going to bring up the bike lane thing again. And you could just tell that they're going to have to endure your advocacy for a bike lane. And then you flash forward, and there was a thing just this past fall where the council's talking, and Day is in there. He's not the mayor yet. And they're looking at a plan, and I heard Day go, where's the bike lane? I mean, you didn't have to be there.
Right.
He knew that there needed to be a bike lane on whatever it was they were working on.
Right. And
so that's just how successful you've really been.
Exactly. So it's great. It's great because, as I said, it's becoming almost institutionalized.
Right.
It's becoming just an expectation rather than an add-on to things.
So is it exciting to be the first big winner of the We Heart Salisbury Award?
I'm humbled.
Did you expect it?
No, I didn't expect it at all because there are so many great people in our community, and I'm doing a few things, but I feel like there's a lot of other people doing even more than me. So I did not expect that at all. Yeah.
What's the reaction been?
It's been neat. I've had a lot of people congratulate me. I've had a lot of people say, there's a lot of things that I want to do, and maybe I can become eligible for an award like that next year. So, hats off to Derek Weaver and all the staff at Heart Salisbury, because the effect that I think that they wanted to have in the community by having an award like that is it's just gonna continue to resonate.
Yeah, we're gonna have him on here at some point soon. But that night fascinated me. I mean, I took my daughter because I expected to not win, and I wanted someone to cry to, or or let her fake some sort of a emergency so we could leave early and not have to. But it was just the love in that room was incredible to me. It wasn't like a thing of competition or rivalry. It was a bunch of people who love Salisbury, and I was blown away by it.
Yeah. One of the comments I made was that you can't tell where any of these people begin and end, because everybody so seamlessly works with each other on multiple different things, that because the overall goal is that we all want to see the city succeed and become a better place to live. Yeah.
Right. Now, you got involved politically a little bit. Everyone said forever you were going to run for city council. I don't know if you want to talk about that or not. But there was a little political thing with the county executive recently on a bike trail on the old railroad bed that heads out to Mardella, and people were suspicious. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because to me it was a very funny kind of a thing.
Yeah, so start off by saying this was not a project that was in my wheelhouse.
Right.
My focus has always been on the core of Salisbury and making the core of Salisbury bike friendly.
Right.
But there's an opportunity to speak at a public comment session for a fairly benign transportation priority letter.
Very benign.
Very benign. And one of the multiple projects on this letter was an extension, or at least a proposed feasibility study to look at taking an existing railway that went from Salisbury to Hebron and then from Hebron to Mardella Springs, and converting that into a bike trail. And the railway hasn't been used in at least 35 years.
The right-of-way is there.
Right-of-way is there. Most of the places you can still see the railroad ties. You can see the steel rails themselves. They've got lots of trees growing up through them. It's so thick you can't even walk through it in a lot of areas. Just prior to this meeting, when some of us came to speak in favor, some came to speak against, the county executive pulled that particular item from this benign letter. And it was frustrating. And
it probably would have been fine if he had, but he had to say something about it that made it worse.
Yeah. And I was in the audience, and I don't think he meant to do this, but he looked right at me and he said, as long as I'm county executive, this is never going to move forward. And so we were all taken aback, and I had an opportunity to speak with some folks in the media, and I wrote a editorial for your former employer.
Yes.
And I had a lot of comments back to me in support of what I was saying, because I didn't feel like this had a fair shake. To be fair, there were definitely some issues that would have to be worked out, but those are all things that's the purpose of a feasibility study in the first place, is to talk about a big idea, figure out what the issues that you have to overcome are, and then talk about whether you can overcome them or not.
Right.
We couldn't even get to that point.
Right.
After that, I actually, since then, I've had a few private discussions with the county executive, and he has, I think, come to reconsider, and there's going to be some middle ground, and I think if we can come up with a feasible approach that works for the surrounding residents and works for the county, that there may be an opportunity to at least extend it as far as Hebron. So go from Salisbury to Hebron. So stay tuned for that. There's still going to be some more action on that, I think.
To me, it's just so obvious. I mean, I remember when I was in College Park and they opened the railway bed to Silver Spring, and we used to ride it when the train was on it. There hadn't been a train on it, but then they were going to maybe use it for the metro, and there was going to be a trail there. But the idea of these old railroad beds are just great places, fun places to ride a bike, and you get to tour all the neighborhoods, and you're off the roads, and it's just like a no-brainer. But I could see the tourism aspects, because it turned into a state issue. The state bicyclist groups were interested in coming to Salisbury and having a place to ride to from Salisbury.
Right. There's there's a trail from Cumberland to Pittsburgh. It's called the Great Allegheny Passage. It's
Right.
about 165 miles, plus or minus.
Right.
Just completed the last sections of that within the last 4 years or so. And there are towns, small towns in western Maryland that have been completely decimated by the change in our economy. And if it were not for the tourism generated by that trail system that runs through those towns, they might even be wiped off the map. So there's some really, really great economic benefits to these things, as you say. And there's lots of examples of it too. This is nothing new. It's being done in a lot of areas throughout the country and in our state.
The Cedar Canal Trail is one of the great. You can ride whatever length of that you want. It's mostly downhill if you start on the west end.
Yep.
It's just fun.
Exactly.
So to have that here would be a great thing.
Exactly. And with some vision and creativity, it wouldn't just be a Hebron to Salisbury trail.
Right.
You could go through Pittsville. You could go through.
There's the railroad that goes the other way.
You could go all the way to West Ocean City.
Yeah.
Practically. So.
Yeah, that's true. Because that bed is there.
Mm-hmm.
I know Delmarva Power right now is redoing the power lines along part of that, so that they've actually built a road for that. So they've cleaned out a lot of the stuff that was there just to get the new power poles up. Yeah, there's a lot of feasibility there.
Yep.
So you're getting me excited. So if you want to give me a project like that to help you work on, I think that would be great.
Awesome.
I had to laugh. My good friend, the county councilman Mark Kilmer, he said something along the lines of the farmers out in Mardella, they don't want bicyclists going through their fields, even though there's a railroad right of way that's not their property. And someone made the joke about, those people with the funny pants riding through our fields. We just don't want that. And I was like, do you have to sound so backward?
Well, and one of the, I had an opportunity, I turned 50 this year, and for my birthday, my wife treated me to a trip to Amsterdam.
Wow.
And in Amsterdam, you don't see anybody in funny pants riding bikes.
Right.
Yet 60% of the population's riding a bike. And they're dressed exactly like I am today.
Right.
There's nothing special about it. It's just ingrained in their lifestyle.
I've never worn the funny pants, but I hear that they feel fun to wear.
Yeah, get used to.
Now, you still ride your bike everywhere, or how do you do this?
I do. I ride probably at least every day. At least every day. When my work schedule allows and when the weather allows, I'll ride every day to work. If it's raining outside, I usually choose to drive my car because I want to dress for the day and whatever I'm going to wear today. I'm not going to go through a costume change just to commute to work.
Right.
That's my personal choice. And then on the weekends, usually I'm in a couple of different bike groups. We'll ride anywhere from 50 to 60 miles on a given day in the weekend.
Wow.
So.
And you have both kinds of bikes. You have like a mountain kind of bike, and then you have the fancy cycle bike.
I like to say I have N+1, where N is the number of bikes that I have on a given day, but there's always one more bike that I need.
Right.
So yeah, I have a closet with 4 bikes in it, and I've got a basement with about 6 more bikes in it, and so there's always different reasons for different bikes.
Right. You work up near the industrial park?
I do. I work near the industrial park, and I live near the university.
Right. So people don't know this, but there's the railroad bed is the way to ride through the center of town.
It really is.
And you probably can't do that on your fancy bike. You probably do that on a more mountain type bike.
Right. But I do have a couple of places. This is a safe place, right?
Right.
Where the railroad bed is a wonderful way to get around some obstacles that there are in commuting in Salisbury. One of the biggest obstacles is the overhead bridge on North Salisbury Boulevard. There's a great little cut-through path just behind the water tower on Edgeview.
Right.
That is a great little workaround to keep you off of that railroad bridge.
Right.
So.
Or you go down to Emerson and then go that way as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I grew up in that area. That's where we rode our bikes everywhere that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with the trail system at Naylor Mill becoming more legitimized, being able to ride through the city streets and then get to a great mountain biking trail is just fantastic.
Right. Now, they encourage trail riding there, but over in Pemberton, you're not supposed to ride your bike, I guess.
Yeah, Pemberton has had an exclusion on bikes in particular. They allow horses, they allow running, they allow walking, but for some reason the county's stance has been to exclude bikes. There's been a citizen that lives in that area by the name of Mark Cotter, and he's got a very innovative idea to extend a trail to go from Marine Road around the perimeter of the city's waste treatment facility,
Right.
through some public streets, through an HOA open space area,
Right.
and then through the perimeter of the county's portion of Pemberton Park to get to Pemberton Hall.
Right.
And he's had some discussions with the county, and they're willing to make some exceptions to that. So
Because you
that's
never see
something-
anyone on the horse trails.
You really don't.
Yeah.
You see most of the people walking and running.
Yeah.
In Pemberton.
And I could see maybe not having the bikes on the path, but because I know when I'm walking at the park, the Henry Parker Park, and the bikes come through, it's and you're walking, but it's their turf. I mean, you can tell they maintain it, and so let them ride their bikes in there.
And for the most part, riding a mountain bike on twisting trails and going up and down elevation, the mountain bike really doesn't go much faster than a person's walking anyway.
That's true.
It's not that hard for
Yeah.
the two to coexist. So yeah, I agree. The Naylor Mill, it's very easy, and then the recently completed parks at the city park, or trails at the city park. They were completed by mountain bikers, but you probably see more people walking and running on those trails than biking. And when they do have the two uses, they really work without a problem. So
It's just an exciting time for bicycles.
I think so.
It's amazing to me.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. And I think especially with the focus on downtown, we've got a Main Street redo of our Main Street that's going to be happening. That's going
Right.
to have bike improvements.
Yeah, there's bike lanes certainly embedded and all that stuff.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I think with a lot of the development of existing buildings and the potential for the redevelopment of the surface parking lots in those areas,
Right.
there's going to be bike improvements that are going to be made as a result of a lot of the different projects. I'd love to see a bike share system come to Salisbury because I see with the university in place and with I like to think of it almost as a multimodal approach to transportation downtown, where you could come into town either on public transportation or on your own car.
Right.
But if you had a bike share system throughout downtown, where you could pick up a bike for half an hour and use it, you'd leave your car at the parking garage. I mean, there's a
Absolutely.
lot of
Yeah.
neat things. You could go to the park. You could go to Ben's Red Swings. You could do a lot
Yeah.
of different things. So, and I think the more we put better bike facilities in, the easier we make it to bike around town, the more things like bike share could come to Salisbury.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do forever was to drive to the Silver Spring, Maryland Metro Station, and then ride downtown through the zoo and Rock Creek Park, because it's all downhill. But then to get back, you either have to get someone to give you a ride or get the Metro Bike Pass or do something like that to get back. You can't get back. But with a bike share thing,
Right.
if you could have all the dead end destination stuff, that would be great.
Exactly, exactly. And I think with the university too, there's a ton of bikes. You know, if you come into the university in mid-July, you'll see a lot of bikes that haven't been maintained. They're locked to a
Right.
bike, and it's sad. They've just been left there.
Yeah.
Where if you had a system and perhaps you even make it set up so that it's accessible and free to all SU students. Build that into their fee structure for being
Sure.
a student on campus, they don't have to worry about that. It's
Yeah.
already taken care of.
Yeah, and this kind of thing, if we were talking about this 5 years ago, I would say that's
crazy.
not going to happen. But it is, it's happening.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just amazing to me it's happening.
yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting.
My producer, Tom Taylor, our producer, says that you're also a skateboarder. Is that true? I did not know this.
No. I support the skateboarding. But
Okay.
No.
But you're not an active skateboarder.
I'm an old guy, and I've never gotten a check from any of these things, so I'm not going to do something that can hurt myself.
So
Yeah.
you supported the skateboard park.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I have not been over there since they started to put up the fence and stuff, but is it good?
I think it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it abuts the trail system through the city park that,
Right.
that we helped to build. So I think both amenities really kind of work with each other. The folks that you see at the skate park now, because it's open and it's been functioning for at least 6 weeks now.
Yeah.
It's not just 10-year-old kids. It's guys that are my age.
Right.
That are better skateboarders than I am.
Yeah, Tony Weig, our photographer, is a big skateboarder,
Yep.
which I don't get. Being in Ocean
Exactly.
City when I was a kid, they built the park there. All my friends gravitated to that. All the surfer guys became skateboarders.
Right.
And I never was able to do it.
I would probably not to choose to take that up later in life. I'll think.
Yeah. So the city, you're one of these people, could live anywhere. Why in the world do you live in the middle of Salisbury?
Well, I grew up in Lower Delaware, but Salisbury had always been like a a home away from home for me because my grandmother lived here while I was growing up. So we spent a lot of time in Salisbury. I did the common path. I went away to school, learned to be an engineer, worked in a few different places, came back here, and I've lived here for the last 25 years, and it's just a great place. It really is a great place, and part of my motivation for doing some of the things that I've been interested in and I want to give back to the community on are that, you know, I could choose to go to live in a place like Boulder, Colorado, where
Right.
bike facilities are already built. I could choose to do that. Maybe I could go choose to live in Amsterdam. Not sure about that. That's a bigger leap. But instead, I almost feel like, you know, if you're going to live in some place, you need to bloom where you're planted.
Right.
You know, in some ways, it's far easier for me to work a little bit on bringing some bike infrastructure here to a place where I already have a very, you know, deep-rooted community, a ton of friends, my family's here. A little bit easier to make Salisbury the way I'd like to see it rather than to move someplace that has all the things that I'd like to see. So.
Right. Politically, do you feel you've watched these changes? How do you feel about all that?
Oh, it's great. It's great. I mean, I feel like the engine's hitting on all cylinders. I have immense respect for our new mayor, tons of respect for the members of the council, and Jack Heath in particular. I actually, I worked for Jack for about 8 years.
Wow,
in
I
an
didn't know
engineering
that.
role. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So he and I, you know, we have a history, a really good history. So I have an immense respect for him. And
If you would run for council, you would have had to run against him.
I would have had to. Exactly. Exactly.
See, now newspaper people love stories like that.
Exactly. So, so it's an exciting time for Salisbury because we're really functional as a community, and I think that the momentum of what you saw at the We Heart Salisbury
Yeah.
event is contagious. You know, the spirit of cooperation and the spirit of a rising tide floating all ships is there among all aspects of government, but also in our business community too. There are a lot of people, you know, stepping out of their normal roles and responsibilities and looking out at what is it that I can be doing that may not be a benefit for me today. It might benefit me maybe in the future.
Right.
But what are the things where I can work with somebody else and we can bring something new to the community that will benefit a whole lot of people? And
Right.
those things are happening.
That's something I see. I mean, you know, I used to live out in Quantico, and all of us would sit around in Quantico and talk about what Salisbury should do.
Mm-hmm.
But we weren't doing any of it. We were just, you know, lecturing what other people should do to make Salisbury better. But
Right.
I get a sense that that's changed, that people do want to do things in town now and be more involved.
Absolutely. I've had the opportunity to work with members of the Chamber of Commerce, and I'll give a plug for Katarina Enerfelt from
Yeah.
Toroid on this burgeoning wind industry
Right.
that's going to be happening in the state of Maryland off the coast of Ocean City. And there's a tremendous opportunity for businesses here on the lower shore to participate because there's a benefit to the folks who are going to be developing that project to use local talent.
Right.
And the size of the project is astronomical. It's
Right.
a $2 billion project
Right.
that will last over 20 years. And a lot of the things can only be done right here. And so we stand to benefit greatly, and I feel very strongly about that. Katarina feels very strongly about that. A lot of the other leaders like Ernie Colburn from the Chamber feel strongly about that. And we just see this as a great opportunity so I've been working really hard on this. I really don't even know what specifically I'm going to get out of it. But
Right.
I know that everybody's going to benefit in some way, and there will be some kind of help that happens in the future.
Yeah,
from
Katarina
doing these
scares
kind
me
of things.
because she's so smart.
She is.
I mean,
is.
she's almost
And-
like from another planet. I feel like she's
Right.
reading my mind.
right. Exactly.
She's
exactly.
she's too smart.
Yeah, and so energetic and positive,
Yeah.
and just sees this. And she's actually she's been named as the director next year for the regional business network for offshore wind, not just for Maryland but for our whole region.
Right.
And so it's neat to have her be from Salisbury and be in a position to. She certainly understands what the needs of the lower shore are. To have her in a role like that, I think is going to be a great benefit to us here.
Yeah, I should have her on the show, but she scares me. I mean, she even took a crew of women and won the skipjack races for crying out loud. I
Exactly.
mean, there's nothing she can't do.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, that Heart Salisbury thing, I think if anyone, I wish everyone in the world could have been in that room, because you can't be cynical about anything after you were part of that. It just was that nice.
Right. Yeah. It's the concentric waves that are going to come out from that'll be interesting to see as things get even stronger in our community. People want to step up and yeah, not just be the person from Quantico saying, you people ought to be doing this, rather than turning it around and saying, all right, this is what's happening. How are we going to address this as a community?
How do you recommend people get involved in biking?
Wow.
Other than their son wrecked a car.
Get a bike. Oh yeah, there's that. There's that. Yeah, we don't want to the DUI path or a wrecked car. Yeah, let's not go down that path.
Someone said that recently. You see a 50-year-old man on a bike, that's at least 3 DUIs.
Right.
That's why he's there.
That or a lawnmower.
Right.
One or the other. Right. Obviously, get a bike, but the best way I think is to start riding with a person that might have a little bit more experience. The last 3 summers we've done an event that we call Pedal Through the Park, and it's geared exactly to the people who the demographers that study bike trends. They talk of a demographic that's called the interested but concerned demographic,
right?
And it represents over 60% of the people in the United States. And the interested but concerned people are the people that intellectually get the environmental benefit, congestion reduction, exercise, all the good things about biking, but they're concerned about how do I bike on an open street and do it safely?
Right.
Where do I lock my bike to when I get to my destination?
Right.
There's no shower at work, so what do I do when I arrive all hot and sweaty?
Right.
And how do I pack my lunch and take it? And there's lots of. I always feel like that there's lots of very, very tiny and individually solvable problems that are barriers to people biking.
Right.
And each one of those is not that big of a deal to solve, but taken as an aggregate, it becomes so immense that somebody's like, I'm just getting in the car and driving today.
Right.
It's more than I can handle. So to me, the step number one is to get a bike and talk to somebody that you might know, or give me a call,
right,
and say, hey, let's just Monday, let's ride to work. Maybe Sunday we talk about what we need to do to prep your bike. We pick a route that's gonna be a safe route for you to ride. Maybe we go out and ride the route on a Sunday, get you familiar with it, so that when Monday morning comes around, you don't have to think about where's my helmet, is there air in my tires, what do I do with my lunch, what's my route. You've already thought, you've done some pre-planning, so that when Monday comes around, you just bike to work. But Pedal Through the Park, the last 3 years we've done that, and that's been a great group ride that's usually originated from downtown, where we start at headquarters, do a quick little safety briefing, and then 10 minutes later we ride out, usually a group of between 6 and 10 people,
right,
cross 13 safely, and then we just circumnavigate the city park.
Right, and having that mob, they're able to take up all the lanes there at the light, so you feel completely safe.
You feel pretty comfortable.
Because if someone's going to hit you, they've got to kill 8 or 10 people instead of just you. So
exactly. So yeah, that's the best way, I think.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Matt, for coming in today.
Well, thank you. This has been a great opportunity.
Yeah, I'm just really excited, and I would just encourage everyone to get out and ride a bike. And this guy, he's made it possible. I just think you don't really know Salisbury until you tour the neighborhoods on a bike.
I agree.
Riding up Camden, or I guess it's down, you go up the hill, but when you ride down Camden, past St. Francis, past the big Victorian houses, even on the sidewalk, you're seeing Salisbury in a way that you just don't see it. And it just, the eye level and everything about it is just so cool.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. It's awesome.
Matt Drew from Bike Salisbury, he's the big winner of the Heart Salisbury Award, and we're thrilled to have him here today on 101. I'm Greg Bassler from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper, another edition here on Pack 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.